Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Talking Money with Pete. In these videos, I use a lot of pictures and analogies to go through and explain some general financial concepts. And so today we're going to be going through and talking about a new topic than what we've talked about for the last couple of weeks. We're going to be going through and talking about the common question that we get asked, which is, when should we start retirement planning? And so we'll go through and we'll unpack that a lot more, but let's go through and get stuck in. Hey guys, so today we're going to be going through and talking about a common question we get asked a lot, which is, when should I start planning for retirement, or when's early enough, or have I left it too late? It's all generally the same concept. And so one of the videos that'd be good to watch before this is the first ever video we did, which is a picture that I call the wedge. There'll be a link up there to go through and look at. But in terms of going through and answering this question, there's a few parts to it, but the corny answer is the earlier you get started, the easier it is. And it's the same as when there's an assignment due tomorrow and the kid and basically going, well, do you just give up because the assignment's due tomorrow? Short answer is no, when there's so much at stake. And so when we go through and we draw the wedge picture, something to keep in mind is a lot of people go through and they go, well, this is retirement here. And so this is, and I'm already here. So what's the point? But something to keep in mind is humans are living longer and longer and longer. And so the reality is retirement is generally here in this analogy. And so if this is the average age that you might live to, so say 90, and so if this is 80, 70, and 60, then there's a long time there. And so yes, you may be at 50 and you used to think the whole picture was from 50 to 60, but now all of a sudden the whole picture is 50 to 60 and there's a chance you might live to 90, then there's a whole lot longer. And so retirement is stretching out further and further and further. And so one of the things that I don't subscribe to is people, I think, sometimes meet with financial advisors and they scare them into, they say, how much do you live off a year? And the person goes, I live off 50 grand a year. Like, okay, and you're going to live 30 years in retirement, so you need $1.5 million. And so the reality is, and I'm sure there'll be people that can go through and find studies that prove this wrong and all those sorts of things, but most of the time, most people don't need $1 million or $1.5 million. Yes, everything's indexed to inflation and all those bits and pieces, but what a lot of studies have found is that there's two humps in retirement spending, and it looks a little bit like this. And then it kind of peters off. And so generally what that is the first hump is in most people's control. It's generally they buy the $100,000 caravan and the $100,000 Land Cruiser to tow it, or a big trip to Europe, or they pay off a big mortgage that they've had their whole life and clear some debt, or maybe this or that or the other, something they've always wanted to go through and do. The second one is generally out of most people's control, and it's health. So it's either unexpected treatments or medical expenses, or the cost of moving into a home and those sorts of things. But then after there, once we get to the 70, 80, or mainly the 80, 90 range, there's not a great deal of spending going on. Most people in their 90s aren't going and doing European trips every year and all those sorts of things. Just think in your own life, who do you know? What are your parents or grandparents or anyone that you know that's in their 80s or 90s? They'd be doing a pretty good job to be going through and spending that much. Obviously, everybody's different and related back to your own circumstances. And obviously this is all general, so go through and for your exact case, we've got a fantastic team of licensed financial advisors and all sorts of accountants and other bits and pieces that can go through and do this for exactly your circumstance. That's what financial planning is. But for the general concept of today, sometimes people give up hope because they go, look, I am spending 50 grand a year currently. There's no way, I'm 5-10 years out from retirement, there's no way I'm going to get to 1.5 million because someone's told them that's what they need. Generally, a lot of people might not necessarily need that much. And you're also not that far into the wedge. Obviously, yes, the earlier you get started, the easier it is, just like people that start their assignments at the start of it. But the other thing to keep in mind is that you've still got a long time to go. And so the corny short answer of the earlier you get started, the easier it is, the better. And just because you're retiring doesn't mean the world stops. The world goes through and continues on. So there's still good merit in going through and having investments that can keep going past, things that can work for you once you can no longer work, essentially. But I hope that helps. I won't ramble on too much on the topic. But yeah. Hey guys, I hope you found that video interesting and useful. Don't forget, we've got a fantastic team that can go through and help you with all of the different licensed financial planning and all those sorts of bits and pieces. Just keep in mind this is general, but there'll be a number that pops up in the bottom below where you can go through and organise a complimentary appointment with our fantastic team. And don't forget, you can comment and ask for particular topics that are of interest to you, and we can always go through and do them too.